Bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs, we got bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs, we got bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs.
Bows and TKOs. We are live, episode 123, coming at you from the Valley. I'm your host, Shane Gillette, for this weekly MMA podcast, streaming anywhere you listen to your podcasts, with videos on YouTube, of course. We got a good show today. We have some fights that have been announced. We will talk about the dirty boxing card that had happened, recap the Apex UFC Fight Night Vegas 110 card, and preview the UFC Fight Night Vegas 111 card, back-to-back Apex, and then we will also talk about the remainder of the year UFC schedule. So let's jump right in. A couple fights that have been announced. For December 13th, which looks like an Apex card. Yes, it'll be an Apex card. We got some good fights. We have Giga Chikadze coming back against Kevin Vallejos. We have Kennedy and Shekoku taking on Marcus Busheka. And then a absolute banger in the featherweight division. We get Morgan Scherer taking on Melquizil Costa, all on that December 13th Apex card. Now, regarding the next year's UFC White House card, it is rumored to have quite the situation for people in attendance. It will not be to the public. There is rumored to have dignitaries from around the world as President Trump hosts a dinner for the leaders of other countries to watch the fights. If I've not ever seen modern day gladiators, UFC fights at the White House with dignitaries from other countries, that is going to be a spectacle. As I've said before, they're doing a watch party at the Lincoln Memorial. I can't wait to see that go down. And of course, next year, to be determined, but supposedly no longer pay-per-view, no longer ESPN, as it will be moving to Paramount Plus, which is already rumored to increase their monthly subscription price, but still to be determined if they will do specific cards as pay-per-views such as the White House. But 2026 for the UFC, for TKO, lots of exciting stuff on the way. But this past weekend, we also had dirty boxing action. The headliner stealing the show, Gable Stevenson making absolute slight work with a round one knockout over Billy Swanson. It only took not 1, not 10, but 15 seconds to get the finish. And he showed his pure athleticism as a heavyweight, just jumping over the ropes without a run. I mean, this guy is an absolute stud animal working with John Jones. I hope he gets signed to a promotion fairly soon. We also had ex-UFC talent Brian Battle with a round one TKO over Nick Coring. Nick came absolutely guns a-blazing up at Battle. He was up against the ropes, just kind of shaking and weaving, found his shot for the opportunity, and sat Nick on his ass. A couple other ex-UFCers in action. The older veteran Francisco Trinaldo with the unanimous decision victory over Nyanesh Ayman. He absolutely controlled this fight. Body work, head work, nice combinations. Clearly, he has a lot more experience in mixed martial arts, but was able to get it done with dirty boxing. For those of you that don't know dirty boxing, it's a very unique promotion. One of the main guys is Platinum Mike Perry, who also is involved in bare knuckle, where it has light UFC gloves. I think it's 6-ounce gloves maybe. But you only have boxing clinch, a little bit of follow-up ground and pound, but no knees, no kicks. So a little bit extra with boxing, a.k.a. dirty boxing. It's a lot of fun, action-paced, 1-minute rounds. I think 5 rounds. But Francisco Trinaldo, Brian Battle looking good in there. And then Desiree Yanez with a split decision victory over ex-UFC alum Maria Agapova. So what a scene. This was their first venture outside of Miami. They went to Nashville. It was pretty awesome. But let's talk about this weekend, past weekend's Apex card. UFC Fight Night Vegas 110. I went 8-4 on my picks. So overall, we're at 749 wins, 373 losses, 10 no contests and draws. For 2025, we're at 265 wins, 131 losses, 3 no contests and draws. Still have doubled up the losses. That's where I want to be. That's the sweet spot. To recap this Apex card, it was grappling heavy as I had assumed. We did have 6 submission victories in this card. Pretty unique. The prelims didn't have a lot of moments. I felt like the main card started hot but then fizzled out pretty quickly. And then obviously the insane eye poke situation and a very easy win finish for Steve. I am recapping this a 3 out of 10. I think I previewed it a 4 out of 10. Some good fights we will not break down, or that we did not break down. We had Talita Alencar with a round 3 submission via rear naked choke over Ariane Carnelosi, one of the submissions in the prelims. We also had Dante Johnson with a round 2 submission via ninja choke over Cedricus Dumas. That was performance of the night, 50 G's for Dante. We had Billy Elicana with a round 1 submission via rear naked choke over Kevin Christian. And then Charles Radke with a round 3 submission via rear naked choke over Daniel Frunza. I don't think I had any of those fights that I picked wrong. Lots of submissions, lots of rear naked chokes. But let's kick this off in the prelims. We had Sakyong Ko with a unanimous decision over Phil Rowe. This was a fight I got wrong. And as expected, it was a striker versus grappler, but the grappler dominated. I personally thought Phil would be more prepared to fight off his back, defend takedowns, find ways to get back up, but Ko smothered him in this fight. That was not the case at all. Ko got a quick takedown in round 1, and Rowe really didn't defend any attempts in the 15 minutes. Phil really wasn't able to get anything going in the fight, let his hands go to work, use his length, and use the distance. He was pinned down by Ko. It was a long night in the Apex for Phil Rowe. Now, Sakyong didn't do a lot with the control, but he did get some ground and pound each round. It was enough to win on the scorecards. Statistically, Phil was shut down. He only landed 11 total strikes, 4 of them significant with a reversal. And Sakyong landed 124 total, but only 36 of them significant. Again, not a ton of damage on top. He did have 4 takedowns. He was 4 for 4 with 13 minutes and 10 seconds of control time. That's just under a minute and change for controlling the entire fight. And he had no submission attempts. So not very offensively aggressive, just trying to coast to victory. And I'm assuming because he knows Phil can strike with the best, he did not want that smoke. But Ko extends his winning streak to 6. He is 3-0 in the UFC. And Phil starts a new losing streak. He moves to 1-3 since 2023. So where do these guys go next? I would like to see Jacoby Smith and Sakyong Ko. That'd be a good, tough fight. And for Rowe, how about a scrap with Reese McKee? Moving on, in the prelim headliner, a pretty damn big fight in the bantamweight division for the women. We had Norma Dumont with a split decision victory over Ketlin Vieira. And I expected a pretty back and forth fight. I did not expect Ketlin to be super aggressive with her offensive wrestling, and that's what transpired. Ketlin got a quick takedown in round 1. She controlled most of the round to go up 1-0. And in round 2, Ketlin got another takedown, but Norma was able to get back up, and she did land some pretty big damaging strikes. When they were exchanging strikes, Norma definitely had more zest, more damage behind those punches. But Ketlin's best strike was her lower leg kicks. She was trying to take the power away from Norma very smartly. But Norma had the most damage and volume in a tight round 2, which set it up for a winner-takes-all round 3. And in the third round, Norma put it on Vieira. She was just trying to make it through the round, it seemed like, and it definitely cost her in this fight. Maybe she thought she had the first 2 rounds. Norma was okay. I agree with the takedown strategy that Ketlin had, but it seemed like neither woman really wanted to risk it all and try to edge out a win. They didn't really go for it to set up a pure title shot situation. I thought they should have been more aggressive. I thought there should have been more chances taken. They need to put a stamp on a title shot. Now, after this performance, Norma is the best option. I don't know if it's the clear option. Both women were pretty slow-paced and conservative in this fight. And the stats speak for that. Ketlin only landed 58 total strikes, only 25 of them significant. She went 2 for 4 in takedowns, had a submission attempt and 5 minutes and 19 seconds of control time. Meanwhile, Norma landed 87 total, so about 30 more, and 62 significant strikes, so she tripled up the volume that Ketlin had. Now Norma, she extends that winning streak to 6. She does move up one spot in the rankings to number 3. And Ketlin starts a new losing streak. She is 2-3 since 2023 and drops one spot to number 4. So what's next? It wasn't a brilliant performance, but I do think Norma is the clear next title contender for the winner of the Kayla Harrison fight, supposedly against Amanda Nunes, although not official. And for Ketlin, how about Yana Santos or a rematch with Irene Aldana? Moving into the main card, we had Alan Nascimento with a round 2 submission via Anaconda choke over Cody Durden. The chokes kept on coming. Performance of the night, 50 G's for Alan. And not only was this Alan's short notice replacement on about 10 days, it was also at a catch weight, which I'm assuming was due to Cody's weight cut on short notice. Alan has missed weight before, so maybe he was all for that. But as I expected, Cody, who was on a 2-fight losing streak, came out very aggressive at the start of the fight in round 1. He did have a ton of success boxing Nascimento, who showcased some pretty poor striking defense. But due to the high output in round 1, you could see Cody slowing down. Both men were scrapping hard in round 2, but Cody got caught in a scramble position, and Nascimento sucked in a choke to get the finish. I think Cody would win that fight in a full camp. It is what it is. That's, the price you pay sometimes. But Allen, I thought pretty highly of coming in. He had showed in this fight that he has a lot to improve with his striking, especially on the defensive side. Statistically, Allen landed 52 total and significant strikes. He was 0 for 1 in takedown attempts. And Cody landed 57 total and significant. He was 1 for 3 in takedowns, so not a ton of success. But he did have 5 more strikes, although he got choked out. So Nascimento extends that winning streak to 4, and Cody extends his losing streak to 3. He is 3-5 since 2023. Pretty brutal spot for him, but he's been active, a good company guy, short notice guy. I think he'll be okay. What's next for these guys? I think Allen and Andre Lima is the fight to make. And for Cody, how about a showdown with Hyung Sung Park? Moving on, we had Yadir Devalier with a round 1 submission via rear naked choke over Isaac Dolgarian. And if there was a takeaway in this event, it was this fight for a lot of situations that we have in store. Hours before this fight, there was a ton of betting movement on Devalier for a first-round finish. Isaac, who is a very good grappler and came in as a sizable favorite, acted like he forgot how to grapple and was looking like an amateur in this fight. Credit to the play-by-play Michael Chiesa for calling it out. For a D1 wrestler who has dominated in the UFC with his grappling, went in for a lazy takedown, got reversed, and when the choke was in it, he wasn't even fighting the choke hand. Very sketchy situation in my opinion. When you know the quality of grappling, I know better, and I'm a basic jiu-jitsu guy. I've wrestled. But you got to give credit to Yadier. There was obviously some shady things going on. The UFC was actually advised to pull this fight before the fight, and they didn't. But right after the fight, Dana White called the FBI and let him know his thoughts. Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour this week, and many others have spoke on the issue. Isaac is actually no longer with the UFC after this fight, and they are being investigated. I do think there was a potential of him being injured. I couldn't see it in the fight, and there was some conspiracies of the James Krause camp because he has been teammates with some of those guys that have had situations come up like this as well. I'm forgetting the gentleman's name that fought recently. Very aggressive fighter, but they knew he had a broken leg coming into the fight. There was a bunch of betting on it. Obviously, those bettors won. There was just too much smoke here for it to be a random situation, and I'm sure we will see a lot of things come out of this in the coming months. And this is going to be huge for the future of the UFC. Obviously, there's NBA scandals and the MLB. I haven't really seen much with the NFL. But they got to crack down on this so that fighters aren't, telling people about situations that lead to big bets or fighting injured. And I think the UFC will start pulling these fights if there's situations like this happening before them. But statistically, Isaac only landed 3 total strikes. He was 0 for 1 in takedowns. Yadier landed 28 total, only 1 significant. He had 3 submission attempts in 2 minutes and 56 seconds of control time. And this was the fight I got wrong. This killed my parlay. But Yadier stays undefeated. He is now 3-0 in the UFC. Isaac ends his UFC career being 2-2 with the promotion. So what's next for Devaye? I think a fight with Jack Jenkins would be a fun scrap. Moving on. We had Jeremiah Wells with the unanimous decision over Themba Gorimbo. And Themba really is known as the UFC fighter that The Rock had bought a home for. And he had said with the money that he's making in the UFC, he was going to give back to his community. But supposedly online he has not done so, although it was his word to do so. And just some weird stuff going on with him. And some weird stuff in this fight. Because he was a grappling heavy fighter right out of the gate in this fight. And had Jeremiah expending a ton of energy trying to get back up and defending takedowns, which you would think pay off for Themba in rounds 2 and 3. Because Themba did win round 1. But in round 2, Jeremiah actually looked fresher than Themba. Themba looked slowed down from that offensive output. And Wells landed nice, powerful combos. And Themba would just land a strike or kick. It was one strike at a time. He wasn't bringing combinations. Round 2 was razor close, but I thought Jeremiah had more impactful striking to set it up for a winner-takes-all round 3. Well, in round 3, Wells went right after Gorimbo, got a takedown of his own, was an offensive control, looking for submissions, trying to put a stamp on the fight to win the decision. I was actually very impressed with Wells' cardio, his grit in this fight, and for Themba, I did think he took a step back. He did not showcase great striking. He hardly did anything at all with the takedowns, and his cardio did not look very good. Now, Themba coming in was very vocal about getting a finish. He said, I got to feed my family. I know he needs to feed his family, but my family is more important. He did not look great and did not back up that big mouth. This was another fight I got wrong. I've not been high on Themba, but I thought he would do enough to beat Jeremiah. Boy, was I wrong. Very impressed by Jeremiah in this fight. Statistically, Jeremiah landed 59 total strikes, 32 of them significant. He had 3 takedowns in 5 attempts. So if he wanted it, he got it. But he was offensive. He had 3 submission attempts and 6 minutes and 5 seconds of control time, so controlled more than a round. Now, Themba landed 80 total strikes, but only 18 of them significant. A lot of that was with his offensive control in the grappling in round 1, but not a lot of damage given. He did get 6 takedowns in 9 attempts. Again, a lot of that in the first round. He had a reversal and 5 minutes and 39 seconds of control time, so he controlled more than a round as well. Regardless, Jeremiah ends that 2-fight losing streak. He is 2-2 since 2023, and Themba extends his losing streak to 2. He is 4-3 since 2023. So what's next? I think Jeremiah and Li Jingliang would be a fun fight. And for Themba, how about veteran Max Griffin? Moving on to the co-main, we had the heavyweights Waldo Cortez Acosta with a round 1 knockout over Ante Delia. Performance of the night, 50 G's for Waldo. And the big reason I'm recapping this a 3 out of the 10 was not only because of the Isaac Dolgarian fight, but the situation that handed here. As expected, we were kind of expecting a Sock'em Boppers high action round 1. Well, we got some chaotic exchanges early, but during what seemed like a TKO finish for Ante, he actually poked Waldo's eye pretty badly. So Waldo was just covering up, saying, hey, I got eye poked. The official had called the fight off, but instead of it being a TKO finish, it was actually a time stoppage because you get 5 minutes after an eye poke, and the fight was never waved off. Waldo did ball up after the poke. That's why he didn't fight back. But when the striking exchanges happened, Ante was clearly the faster striker, the aggressor, while the fight lasted before the stoppage. But after the weird situation, after the time, and the dust settled in this fight, once it resumed, Waldo unleashed a bomb, and it laid Delia on his ass, and he was able to step in for the finish as Delia wasn't sure what happened. What a wild series of unfortunate events, but Waldo said he couldn't see and decided to resume the fight anyways. He was calling out Tom Aspinall and other people, but you have to feel for Ante Delia, who's had a very long journey to the UFC. He thought he won the fight early. There was probably a big adrenaline dump. You have to sit and wait for it to continue, and right as it continued, Waldo just went after it and landed that big strike. Very weird situation. Statistically, and this was a fight I got wrong, but Waldo landed 18 total strikes, 12 of them significant with the knockdown, and Ante landed 18 total strikes, 16 of them significant. He was 0 for 1 in takedown attempts. Again, really weird loss to have on the record. I would like them to run this back. That probably won't happen. But Waldo starts a new winning streak. He is 6-2 since 2023. He's been probably the most active heavyweight since joining the UFC. And Ante ends his 2-fight winning streak. He starts a new losing streak. He is now 1-1 in the UFC. So what's next? Well, although I thought Ante was the better fighter and he probably should have won, Waldo's been active. He is on a very impressive run. So a fight with the KO King, Derek Lewis, I think would be the fight to make. And for Ante, how about Walter Walker? Moving on to the main event. We had Steve Garcia with a round 1 TKO over David Onama. Performance of the night, 50 G's for Steve. And I actually expected more from Onama. I did pick Steve to win. But this was a big step up for David on his winning streak. And Steve proved to be too much as he really just steamrolled Onama. I mean, he went right at him as he typically does. He put it on him. And David couldn't survive. And really didn't want any more as he balled up against the cage. That smoke was too much to handle. I mean, Steve is building a resume as one of the more aggressive and powerful men in the UFC, let alone the featherweight division. I can't wait to see what's next for him. Statistically, Steve landed 43 total strikes, 33 of them significant with a knockdown, and David only landed 2 total and significant. Again, complete domination. David Onama clearly doesn't belong with the best in the division. But Steve now extends that winning streak to 7. He moves up 4 spots in the rankings to number 8, now in the top 10. And David ends that 4-fight winning streak. He starts a new losing streak and drops 1 spot in the rankings to number 14. So what's next? Well, after the fight, Steve called for a BMF fight against Max Holloway, although different weight classes. I really don't think Max Holloway will consider that. I think a fight with Josh Emmett is the perfect matchup and an absolute banger. And for David, Sean Woodson is the fight to make. But yeah, weird situations on hand. Pretty dominant performances. A lot of grappling, a lot of submissions. Hopefully this weekend's Apex card changes the tide. We have UFC Fight Night Vegas 111. The prelims at 1 p.m. Pacific. The main card at 4 p.m. Pacific. All on ESPN+. Tough to get an ESPN spot with college football in the midst of the season. To preview this Apex card, I do think it is much better than 110. The prelims are actually pretty stacked, probably better than last week's card entirely. There isn't a bad fight on the card. I think the matchmaking did a very good job here. The main card is a ton of fun, but it is grappling heavy outside the CLD fight, and the loss of the Adrian Yanez fight before this drops it a bit for me, so I'm previewing it a 5 out of 10. Some good fights we will not break down. We have LFA alum Jackson McVee taking on Zachary Reese, who is filling in for Robert Valentin, who pulled out due to injury. And then we have Christian Quinones out against his fight against Adrian Yanez. Supposedly they offered Yanez a fight with a Contender Series alum, and he said, no thank you. But let's kick this off in the prelims. What a fight. We get Miles Chapo Johns, 31 years old with a 15-4-1 record, taking on Daniel Sancora Marcos, 32 years old with a 17-1 record. Now this is another somewhat short notice fight, I think a couple weeks. Miles was originally supposed to fight Muin Gafurov, but he gets another opponent in his prime that is looking to get back on the winning track. Both of these men have actually fought some pretty stiff competition thus far in their UFC careers. I do think they need to fight a complete fight, putting it all together to find a way to victory. Both men are pretty paced. They are counter-heavy strikers, so it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out. Breaking it down, Miles has an orthodox stance. He's a Legacy FC, LFA, and Contender Series alum. He's a former LFA champion. He's on a 2-fight losing streak and is 2-2-1 since 2023. Now, Daniel is a Contender Series alum. He's on a 1-fight losing streak and is 4-1-1. since 2023, and 8 of his 17 wins are via knockout. Now, I actually expect Daniel to be the pressure fighter against Miles, but he has to be careful because Miles does have quick hands and is very powerful. I think this is probably a back and forth fight, probably to a decision. I'm sure both guys will make some takedown attempts. But much like I said before, I think Miles, to win at this level, needs to be the fighter coming forward and unleashing strikes and offensively wrestling himself. If he sits on his back foot, waits the fight to come to him, I don't think it'll work in his favor. He did a great job against a very talented Gene Matsumoto, but if he doesn't, it's going to be a tough night in the Apex for him. I think this is a 50-50 fight, but for the sake of picking, I'm going to take the underdog, the dogs coming to eat. I'm taking Miles Johns, but I'm avoiding this on any parlay possible. Moving on, we have Tisha, the Tiny Tornado Pennington, 36 years old with a 15-7 record and the number 13 next to her name, taking on Denise D. Gomes, 25 years old with a 11-3 record and the number 15 next to her name. Now, this is clearly a vet versus prospect showdown. There's 11 years of age gap between the two women. Denise has actually looked very powerful in the weight class. She has showed her potential, but she's struggled against veterans with experience. As example, the loss to Angela Hill back in November of 23. You know, Tisha has actually looked revitalized post-pregnancy. She's 2-1 in a return, but she was damn close to being 3-0. Tisha is a volume fighter that doesn't have a ton of power, and Denise is pretty much the complete opposite. So it'll be fun to see it shake out. Breaking this down, Tisha has a lot of MMA in her background. She has a background in Taekwondo, Muay Thai, and a Karate style. She trains out of American Top Team. She has a blue belt in BJJ, a black belt in Karate and Taekwondo. She's an Invicta and Ultimate Fighter alum. She's tied with Mackenzie Dern for second most wins in the UFC women's strawweight history with 11, and that's behind Angela Hill. She's tied with Angela Hill for the most split decision wins in the strawweight history with 9. She's tied with Karolina Kowalkiewicz and Randa Marcos for second most bouts in strawweight history with 18. She was the 2013 Newcomer of the Year over 10 years ago. She's on a 2-fight winning streak and is 2-1 since 2023. Now, Denise is an Invicta and Contender Series alum. She's tied with Amanda Lemos for the second most knockouts in UFC women's strawweight history with 3. She's on a 3-fight winning streak and is 5-1 since 2023. 7 of her 11 wins are via knockout. Very impressive in women's MMA. And she does have a 2.5-inch reach advantage. Now, Denise has recently added some solid grappling to her game because that was a huge weakness early on in her UFC career. I think that'll be the biggest difference in this fight, unless she could land a big shot on Tisha, but Tisha's never been finished in her pro career. If the fight does stay standing and it's a kickboxing fight, I think Tisha will outpace her as she throws like 3 to 5 strike combos, and Denise is more of a 1 to 2 shot striker, but when she throws 100% in her power. Now, Gomes can win by landing damage, but she has to be the pressure fighter and cut off the cage for Tisha. I could see Tisha getting taken down, but she does a good job getting back up. Not many women could hold her down. Denise is a threat today. I just think Tisha finds a way to push the pace and do enough to win a close decision. Circle the cage, get on her bike, land those combos, get out. Get in, land the combos, get out. For the sake of picking, I'm taking another underdog. The dog's coming to eat. I'm taking Tisha Pennington, but I'm avoiding this on any parlays. This is another 50-50 fight for me. Moving on. We have Mayra Shitara Bueno Silva, 34 years old with a 10-5-1 record and the number 10 next to her name, taking on Jacqueline the Nightmare Cavalcanti, 28 years old with a 9-1 record and the number 11 next to her name. Now, Jacqueline has moved up the rankings pretty slowly, methodically. She's still pretty young, but she's starting to put it all together. I mean, Myra hasn't had much success since she tested positive against Holly Holm back in 2023 and lost in her first title shot. Now, Cavalcanti is strictly a striking first fighter right now, so I do believe if Myra wants to have success, she needs to find a way to mix in some takedowns. But breaking this down, Myra trains out of American Top Team. She has a brown belt in BJJ. She's a Contender Series alum. She's on a 3-fight losing streak, and she had a no contest overturned for when she cheated. Her last win was in February of 2023, and 7 of her 10 wins are via submission. Now, Jacqueline is a PFL and LFA alum and former LFA champion. She's on a 7-fight winning streak, 4-0 in the UFC. 3 of her 9 wins are via knockout, and she has a 3.5-inch reach advantage. Now, Jacqueline, as she's done, is going to try to stay at range and pick at Myra. Then when Silva tries to close distance, you have to make her pay with those kicks and combinations. Myra, if she could find a way to close distance and make this fight ugly, up against the cage, in the clinch, look for takedowns, leg sweeps, I think she can have success, and I think she is better on the ground. I really do think Jacqueline, though, she is very green, she is improving, but this is her moment, and I think she's aggressive and makes it happen. I have not been impressed with Myra of late. For that reason, I'm taking Jacqueline. We are putting her on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving on. Still in the prelims. We have Hyder the Hurricane Emil, 35 years old with an 11-1 record, taking on Jamal Pretty Boy Emmers, 36 years old with a 21-8 record. Now this fight's going to set the stage for the main card. Both men are very aggressive. They're coming off a ton of fights that have ended via finish. Hyder was brutally knocked out barely over 4 months ago in his first pro loss. Hyder has only been the full 15 minutes twice in 5 UFC fights, and Jamal has only been out of the first and 2 of his last 6 fights. So expect chaos. Breaking it down, Hyder is a Bellator, LFA, and Contender Series alum. He's on a 1-fight losing streak and is 4-1 since 2023. 6 of his 11 wins are via knockout. Now, Jamal trains out of Pinnacle MMA. He has a black belt in BJJ. He's been in a lot of promotions on his way up. He's an RFA, LFA, M1, and Contender Series alum. He's on a 1-fight winning streak, 3-2 since 2023. 9 of his 21 wins are via knockout, and he does have a 4-inch reach advantage. Now, I expect this fight to be over before we hear the bell in round 2. Both men are violent strikers that are willing to live and die by the sword, and at their ages, they have a ton on the line, so don't blink. Hyder, he is 35, Jamal 36. They have to stack up wins to keep a good pace in the UFC. I personally think Hyder is more of a technical striker and cleaner overall. Jamal definitely has big highs and some low lows. He had 4 UFC losses, but he has wins over the likes of Corey Sandhagen, although it was in the LFA back in 2017. But I could see Jamal grappling his way to victory here. But I am taking Hyder Emil. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving into the main card. What a main card opener we have here. This fight alone could be better than the entire Apex event last week. We got Christian CLD Leroy Duncan, 30 years old with a 12-2 record, taking on Marco Matuto Tulio, 31 years old with a 14-1 record. Now, I've been impressed with Tulio since he's come from the LFA and his 2 Contender Series fights, but CLD is legit. When I first saw him in the UFC with his striking and spinning techniques, his size, his length, I was like, man, this guy has all the potential to maybe even be a future champion. I mean, he is legit. He's one of the more creative strikers that provides problems for everyone anywhere in the fight. I do think this should be a fun fight between the 2 men hitting their primes. The winner of this fight, assuming it will be a finish, will be on a rocket ship in the middleweight rankings. I can't wait. Breaking it down, Christian is a Cage Warriors alum and former champ with one successful title defense. He's on a 2-fight winning streak and is 5-2 in the UFC since 2023. 9 of his 12 wins are via knockout, and he has a 4.5-inch reach advantage. Now, Marco trains out of Shootbox Diego Lima. He's an LFA and Contender Series 2-time alum. He's on a 10-fight winning streak, 3-0 in the UFC, and 10 of his 14 wins are via knockout. Now, again, I can't hit home on this enough. CLD's length and creativity in striking at distance is a real problem. You know, Marco isn't afraid to take a shot to give a shot as he tries to close distance. But as long as CLD is active, I think he will have success with power shots to win. But Marco is full of confidence with the winning streak, and he has 3 straight finishes in the UFC. Because we have seen moments where CLD isn't as offensively active, and that does cost him. I think this has Fight of the Night written all over it, and again, the winner will be the next big name in the middleweight division. But I am taking CLD. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving on. We have Ricky Simón, 33 years old with a 22-6 record, taking on Yeoni Barcelos, 38 years old with a 20-5 record. Now this is pretty much grappler on grappler crime. The difference for me is Ricky is in his prime at 33, and he's on a roll. And Yeoni is at the edge of his career. He is having a bit of a resurgence. I think a win here would really kill Ricky's momentum, or a win for Barcelos here would really kill Ricky's career momentum. But for Barcelos, he's been right back in the top 15 fighting. I do think Barcelos has the striking technique and strategy advantage, but Ricky has the power advantage. Breaking it down, Ricky trains out of Syndicate MMA. He has a black belt in BJJ. He has the second most takedowns landed in bantamweight history with 44, behind the machine Merab Dvalishvili. He's a King of the Cage, Titan FC, LFA and Contender Series alum. He's a former LFA champion with one successful title defense. He's on a 2-fight winning streak and is 2-3 since 2023. And 7 of his 22 wins are via knockout. Now, Yeoni has a wrestling and BJJ background. He has a black belt in BJJ. He's an RFA alum and former champ with 2 successful title defenses. He's a 2002, 3, and 6 IBJJF world champion at blue and purple belt. He's on a 3-fight winning streak and is 3-2 since 2023. And 8 of his 20 wins are via knockout. Now, Barcelos is tough everywhere. I do think he's going to be slowing down as he hits the back half of his 30s. And Ricky has faced plenty of other grapplers in his UFC career. I do expect a majority of this fight to be in the clinch up against the cage, or maybe just a back-and-forth striking battle. We do need to consider Barcelos' run. He has defeated some up-and-coming talents like Peyton Talbot. But I do think because it'll be a striking back-and-forth battle that Ricky will edge it out. I think we will see the best Ricky Simón we've seen yet. And for that reason, I am taking Ricky Simón, but I'm avoiding this on any parlays where possible. Moving on. We have Ismail Mereta Bonfim, 29 years old with a 20-5 record, taking on Chris Taco Padilla, 30 years old with a 16-6 record. Again, another legit bout between two men just hitting their strides at the beginning of their primes. You know, Chris hasn't been defeated in the UFC yet, but I would say this is his toughest test yet. I think Ismail is clearly the better grappler, probably more of a technical striker, but Chris is no slouch. He's much more durable from what we've seen, so this is going to be a fun one. Breaking it down, Ismail is a Jungle Fight, LFA, and Contender Series alum. He's on a 1-fight losing streak and is 2-2 since 2023. 9 of his 20 wins are via knockout, 4 via submission, so 13 of his 20 wins via finish, and 4 of his 5 losses are also via submission. He's pretty aggressive. Now, Chris is an RFA, King of the Cage, Brave, and Bellator alum. He's on a 6-fight winning streak and is 3-0 in the UFC. 8 of his 16 wins are via knockout, 5 via submission. So 13 of his 16 wins via finish. They're both finishers. But he does have a 2.5-inch reach and a 4-inch leg reach advantage. I truly think this is a pivotal moment in both men's careers. The winner will be cruising at the top of the lightweight division. I just think Ismail is better everywhere, and he needs a moment, and this is his chance. I could see him grappling for most of the fight and winning that way as well. For that reason, I'm taking Ismail Bonfim. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving on. We have Muslim, the king of Kung Fu, Salikov. 41 years old with a 22-5 record, taking on Yarosh the Doctor Medic. 32 years old with an 11-3 record. Now, these men are at different stages in their careers. Muslim at 41, Yarosh in his prime at 32. But Muslim is coming off 2 beautiful first-round finishes. You know, Yarosh has been finished in all 3 of his losses in the UFC, but his last 3 fights haven't been out of the first round, with 2 of them being via knockout and finishes that he's got. I think if Yarosh is going to get a finish, it will be after round 1, and his best path to victory is to mix in takedowns, and we haven't seen him do that. Breaking it down, Muslim has a Sanda style. He has a purple belt in BJJ. He won gold in the 2008 Olympics for men's Sanda and is a 2013, 15, 11, 09, 07, and 05 Sanda world champion. He's a well-decorated MMA fighter. His last 2 fights have been performance of the night. He shows up, he shows out. He's an M1 alum. He's on a 3-fight winning streak and is 3-2 since 2023. And 15 of his 22 wins are via knockout. Now, Yarosh trains out of King's MMA. He has a blue belt in BJJ, an orange belt in Judo. He's on a Contender Series alum. He's on a 1-fight winning streak and is 3-2 since 2023. 9 of his 11 wins are via knockout, 2 via submission, so all 11 of his wins have come via finish. Now, if this is a first-round fight, which I'm expecting, I'm taking Salikov. And if it goes the distance, I'm probably going with Yarosh, who is in his prime, and he has showcased good cardio, because Muslim does tend to slow as the fight goes on. I'm guessing Yarosh comes out aggressive and turns this into a brawl, and for that reason, I'm taking Salikov. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving on to the co-main event in the flyweight division. We get Matt Danger Schnell, 35 years old with a 17-9-1 record, taking on Joseph Boppo Morales, 31 years old with a 14-2 record. Now, this is another really fun fight, and Matt may be fighting for his UFC life, so he has to leave it all on the line. For Joseph, this is somewhat redemption, because this is his second stint with the UFC, and in his last fight, I thought he looked the best we've ever seen in that Ultimate Fighter finale only 3 months ago. You know, Matt has been finished in 3 consecutive losses, and he's been battled for a pretty tough past couple years. I do expect this fight to go everywhere and be a 15-minute war. The flyweights are always high speed and a lot of fun. Breaking it down, Matt has a black belt in karate, a purple belt in BJJ. He had the 2022 Comeback of the Year against Sumaderi. He's a Legacy FC alum and former champion. He's on a 1-fight winning streak. He's 2-4 since 2022. 9 of his 17 wins are via submission. 5 of his 9 losses are via knockout. Now, Joseph trains out of Team Alpha Male. He's a World Series of Fighting, Cage Fury, Cage Warriors, A1, and Ultimate Fighter alum and champion. Again, this is his second stint with the UFC. In his first run, he went 1-2. He's on a 4-fight winning streak and is 2-2 in the UFC overall. 7 of his 13 wins are via submission. Now, Matt is a well-rounded flyweight. He has a ton of experience, but I just haven't seen enough fire in him to be comfortable with him winning against a young, hungry fighter who is also fighting for his career in the UFC. Matt was taken down a bunch against Jimmy Flick back in April, and I do think Joseph is a better grappler, so I expect a good, well-rounded attack for him, and I am picking him in this fight. I'm taking Joseph Morales. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Then in the main event, we have Gabriel Martinha Bonfim, 28 years old with an 18-1 record and the number 14 next to his name, taking on Randy Rude Boy Brown, 35 years old with a 20-6 record. Now the main event is another fun fight. I mean, Randy is coming off a massive knockout victory over the veteran Nicholas Dalby. But besides that fight, I feel like Randy is still looking for a quality victory. He's been taken down in bunches before, so if he can avoid the takedowns, it's on. But I'm not confident in that. This gives me a lot of that reminiscence of the last Phil Rowe fight last weekend. Steven Wonderboy rocked Gabriel, and he was finished by Dalby back in 2023, so he does have some weaknesses. But he's only 28 years old, he's not even in his prime yet, and he does have a ton of potential. Breaking it down, Gabriel is a future FC, Contender Series, and LFA alum. He's a former LFA champ. He's on a 3-fight winning streak, 5-1 since 2023, and 13 of his 18 wins are via submission. Now, Randy trains out of Marquez MMA with a black belt in BJJ. He's a Ring of Combat alum and former champ with 2 successful title defenses. He's on a 1-fight winning streak and is 4-2 since 2023. 8 of his 20 wins are via knockout, 5 via submission, so 13 of his 20 wins via finish. And Randy's a long dude. He has a 5.5-inch reach advantage and a 5-inch leg reach advantage. Now, if Gabriel can't execute with his takedowns on Randy, I do think Randy will use his length and power to pick off Gabriel from distance. I just don't have any confidence in Randy defending takedowns. This being a main event is interesting, as neither man has been in a 5-round fight, and that opens up a whole new can of worms. I really haven't been impressed with Gabriel's cardio, as he has such a high-paced output early in the fight. We've seen him slow down a ton by round 3. So if this goes into rounds 4 and 5, Randy's probably in a good spot. The true question, though, is can Randy get back up when he is taken down and find a way to do body work, wear on Gabriel in the clinch? If he does that, I think he has a chance. I just think the pedigree of Gabriel, him being so young and powerful, I can't pick against him here. For that reason, I'm taking Gabriel Bonfim. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Fun Apex card. I mean, the Gabriel Bonfim fight, the Muslim fight, probably a round 1 finish. The younger Bonfim brother, or older Bonfim brother against Chris Padilla is a great fight. Simone and Barcelos, 2 great grapplers, a lot on the line. The prospect middleweight future, CLD and Marco Tulio. Again, that's probably fight of the night. Hyder Emil looking to rebound after his first pro loss. Very good women's fights. And Miles Johns, Daniel Marcos, early quality fight. I'm excited for this Apex card. But next week, man, a card of the year contender and an absolutely stacked UFC 322. It is headlined with 2 titles, 2 people moving up for double champ status, as Jack Della Maddalena takes on Islam Makhachev in welterweight, and Valentina Shevchenko tries to defend her title against the strawweight champion Zhang Weilei at flyweight. And this will be an opportunity for Weilei and Islam to be 2 weight class champions. But let's look at the remainder of the year. We're breaking down 322 next week. But then after that, we have a fight night in Qatar, which will be early day action here in the States. Arman Sarukian, second ranked, taking on Dan Hooker. Clash of Styles fight, but god damn, that's going to be fun. A very big welterweight fight in Bilal Muhammad and Ian Machado Gary. Potentially next guy up for the title. The welterweight division has all the action in the next few weeks. We got the Prates fight, the Leon Edwards fight, taking on Leon Edwards, and then Sean Brady, Michael Morales, Bilal Muhammad, Ian Gary. I don't know who's going to be the clear option there. It's really going to depend who shows out. So there's so many stakes on the line. I mean, this is just as good as a pay-per-view. We have 14th ranked Alonzo Mendefield and 9th ranked Volkan Ozdemir. Great fight. Veteran Jack Hermanson taking on Miktabik Oralbai. Great grapplers there. At heavyweight, we get Sergey Spivak and Shamil Gaziev. Two hard hitters with great grappling ability at heavyweight. In the flyweight division, veteran Alex Perez, 8th ranked, taking on 9th ranked Asu Almabayev. Two good grapplers there. We have Tagir Ulanbekov, 12th ranked flyweight, taking on former UFC fighter Kyoji Horiguchi. We have Alexandre Topuria, Ilya's brother, taking on Bekzat Almakan. We have Nicholas Dalby fighting, Ryan Loder fighting against Ismail Nardiev. I mean, this is a deep fight night card for early Saturday action right before Thanksgiving. Then there's a week off for the Thanksgiving holiday and straight back to pay-per-view, this time in Las Vegas. The last pay-per-view on the ESPN, and boy did they round out the year with bangers. Two belts on the line. At bantamweight, we get Merab Dvalishvili in a rematch against Petr Yan. At flyweight, we get the young Joshua Van testing his skills against the flyweight GOAT, Alexandre Pantoja. At light heavyweight, we get to see Jan Blachowicz back against Bogdan Guskov. Tatsuro Taira, Brandon Moreno, are you fucking kidding me? Muhammad Naimov, Myron Santos, absolutely great fights. Henry Cejudo, and potentially his retirement fight against Peyton Talbot. Marvin Vettori, Bruno Fajeda, awesome fight. Macy Barber, Karine Silva, awesome fight. Jalen Turner out of retirement against the legend Edson Barboza, absolute violence. Grant Dawson, Manuel Torres, Terrence McKinney, Chris Duncan, that is certified banger. Antonio Tricoli taking on Mansour Abdul Malik. Nazim Siddiqov and Faraz Ziam. There is not a bad fight on that card. Then we go back to the Apex for the final event before Christmas. We have Brandon Royval taking on Manel Kape. So a lot going on in the flyweight division. We got that Giga Kevin Vallejos fight. Joe Anderson Brito's fighting. Jillian Robertson and Amanda Lemos. Jillian's opportunity to get into the top 5. That Melquizil Costa, Morgan Scherer fight. Cesar Almeida taking on Michael Olegchik's brother, Cesare. We have Luana Santos and Melissa Croden. Solid Apex card. I mean, the rest of the year, every single card is an absolute hitter. And then, nothing official yet, but it's rumored, January 24th will be UFC 324, the first Paramount card. I expect Ilia Topuria to be on that card. Maybe a Sean O'Malley, some big hitters. And then UFC 325 is rumored to be in Sydney. I think we'll have 326, then the White House as 327. If you're an MMA fan, shit's going good. You cannot complain. But that is episode 123. I'm your host, Shane Gillette. See you next week.